24-year-old 7-Eleven employee Jessica McLaughlin was finishing up her shift at one of the store's locations in Los Angeles on June 24th when she got into a physical altercation with her manager. According to the young woman's family, the attacker held McLaughlin down, sat on her, and prevented her from breathing, all while attacking co-workers who tried to intervene. McLaughlin spent several days in the hospital before her family made the difficult decision to take her off life support after doctors declared her brain dead. The accused culprit remains at large and no charges have been announced, leading many to question why the manager is not being held accountable and whether justice will ever be served. Among those who are expecting arrest is the manager's former roommate, Kira Meyer-Bachtol, who was so terrified by the nature of the incident that she ended the living arrangement. She has since gone viral on TikTok where she voices her frustrations over the apparent lack of action in the case. In a statement, 7-Eleven reassured the public that it had fired the manager and that the company was fully cooperating with law enforcement. Thanks for watching. Number 21. Christian Ketchup. A fun night out in Florida took a sudden tragic turn for a 25-year-old mother of twins in August of 2023 when she was shot dead outside an Escambia County bar. The victim, Tara Binion, was out with friends at Mugs and Jugs in Pensacola when she got into an argument with another woman who was later identified as 23-year-old Rachel DeRise. They took the dispute out to the parking lot where DeRise's boyfriend, 25-year-old Christian Ketchup, punched Binion in the face and knocked her unconscious. As DeRise continued to beat Binion, Ketchup allegedly retrieved a gun and shot the unresponsive woman 7 times. He later turned himself into law enforcement and was charged with second-degree murder, while DeRise was arrested on suspicion of battery. In September of 2024, DeRise pleaded no contest to the misdemeanor charge. The judge sentenced her to a year of probation, along with mandatory anger management, and ordered her to write a 500-word essay about what she learned from the event that landed her in court. Ketchup remains in custody amid his ongoing trial, which began on September 16th, just before the creation of this video. Number 20. Maranda Johnson. In August of 2025, Kodak Black's ex-girlfriend was arrested in South Florida for her alleged role in a fight that broke out between the mothers of the rapper's children months earlier. The event in question took place in January at a Wilton Manors nightclub where Kodak Black, whose real name is Bill Capri, brought his children's mothers to a birthday party for one of his kids. News reports indicate that the party was in honor of Capri's young daughter, Queen Yuri, whom he shares with 23-year-old ex-girlfriend Maranda Johnson. Perhaps not surprisingly, the women weren't exactly thrilled to see each other. They started arguing, and the verbal altercation soon escalated into physical violence. Johnson was accused of ripping a wig off another woman's head and punching her in the face. Numerous items were damaged during the brawl, including a sink, toilet, printer, and computer screen. By the time police arrived, the parties involved in the fight had left the club. Following her arrest in an unrelated case 8 months later, Johnson was charged with misdemeanor battery in connection with the incident. She later posted a video explaining that she had gotten upset because Capri had entered the party in a grand fashion with another woman on his arm, as if the celebration was about them. Johnson said she felt antagonized by Capri and claimed she was trying to leave the party when the fight broke out. When news first circulated of her arrest, she was being held at the Broward County Jail on an unrelated criminal mischief case, but she no longer appears to be in custody. Number 19. Tyler McCain. In what's known as Shasta County, California's first no-body case, 39-year-old Tyler McCain stands accused of murdering his wife, whose body has never been found. 39-year-old Nikki Cheng Saley McCain was slated to testify against Tyler in an upcoming hearing for a domestic violence case when she vanished from Redding in May of 2024, raising suspicions that Tyler had killed her to prevent her from taking the stand. The abuse charges against him were dropped 2 months later because prosecutors didn't have a strong enough case without Nikki's testimony, causing many to feel as though he had gotten away with abusing his wife. A week after Nikki vanished, her blood-stained truck was found abandoned off a remote highway. The vehicle had a strong odor of human decomposition and there was a bloody sheet inside. Investigators soon learned that she had been having an affair at the time of her disappearance, and the breakup note she had written to Tyler was found during a search of their home. Nikki was declared legally dead 10 months after she went missing, but no arrest came until August of 2025, when Tyler was charged with murder and domestic violence. During a 6-day preliminary hearing the following month, prosecutors revealed that Nikki's burned driver's license was found in Tyler's possession during a traffic stop earlier this year, after he was seen throwing items out of his vehicle window. Tyler has also been connected to the evidence inside Nikki's vehicle through DNA, and the witness testified that he contacted family members and urged them to get him and Nikki's kids on their side. He remains held without bail at the Shasta County Jail, and in the meantime, finding Nikki's body remains a priority for law enforcement. Number 18. Jaime Benavidez. 50-year-old Jaime Benavidez already had more than 60 arrests, 9 felony convictions and 20 misdemeanor convictions on his record. When he was released from his most recent prison stint in 2024, he spent around 20 of the last 30 years behind bars and is now looking at a potential lifetime in prison for shooting a pregnant woman in the head in late August of 2025, while responding to reports of an abandoned pickup truck that had been reported stolen in Brighton, Colorado. Officers found the body of 32-year-old Kayla Koff. The crime was traced to Benavidez, who had been arrested the previous day for an attempted carjacking that had ended in a high-speed police chase. Koff's mother told law enforcement that her daughter had been staying in the truck with Benavidez. According to police, surveillance footage showed Benavidez abandoning the truck Koff was found in at around 2 a.m. He then embarked on the 12-hour crime spree, which led to his arrest prior to being connected to Koff's murder. Benavidez reportedly nodded when asked by police if the reason he ran had to do with the woman's death. He's also accused of shooting a gun during an attempted carjacking, stealing a friend's car, firing multiple rounds at a police officer, and trying to hit a cop on a motorcycle during the pursuit that led to his arrest. Benavidez faces 24 felony charges, including first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, motor vehicle theft, habitual domestic violence offender, attempted robbery, and attempted homicide of police officers. Number 17. The murder of Cameran Holt. 19-year-old Cameran Holt was attending a pregnant relative's gender reveal party in Baltimore's Federal Hill neighborhood in October of 2024 when she was struck by a stray bullet while sitting in her car. She was rushed to the emergency room where she clung to life for another week and a half before succumbing to her injuries. Several weeks later, authorities arrested 27-year-old Deshaun Clark, 28-year-old Devontae Richardson, and 20-year-old Alexis Cancel Soto, who were accused of being involved in a shootout that led to Holt's death. All 3 suspects were charged with first-degree murder and other related crimes, but are being tried separately. The first defendant to go to trial was Alexis Cancel Soto, who had admitted to firing a weapon and was connected to the crime through surveillance footage, witness statements, and other evidence. In mid-September, he was found guilty on all counts including first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, reckless endangerment, and 4 weapon-related counts. He's currently awaiting sentencing, which is scheduled for December 3rd, while Richardson and Clark are slated to go to trial in October. Number 16. James McAlee. During the early morning hours of July 5, 2022, police responded to a 911 call at the Patriot Place Mobile Home Park in Onslow County, North Carolina, where they found a 27-year-old on the ground with 2 fatal gunshot wounds. Investigators soon learned that he had gotten into a fight with 46-year-old James McAlee, who had driven to the trailer park from Alexandria, Virginia, to confront him about a relationship the victim had had with McAlee's adult daughter. The 2 men got into a fight and were separated, at which point McAlee retrieved a gun from his truck and shot Musgrove. McAlee was apprehended by U.S. Marshals and Onslow County deputies after a 3-week manhunt and was detained without bond on an open murder charge. Following his trial in September of 2025, the jury found him guilty of the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter and recommended a prison sentence of 5 to 7 years. Shortly after the verdict and sentence were handed down, McAlee's lawyers announced their intentions to appeal the case. Number 15. Theodore Bland. In late October of 2023, Vermont State Police found the bodies of two young men about a mile apart from one another in a wooded area near the town of Eden. They had both been shot to death and were identified as 21-year-old Jaime Solomon of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and 21-year-old Eric White of Chicopee, Massachusetts. Both men had been reported missing by their families roughly 10 days earlier. Based on the condition of their bodies, investigators speculated that they had been killed more than a week before their remains were found. Police traced the crime to 30-year-old Theodore Bland, who was indicted by a federal jury earlier this year on charges related to the murders. He remains in custody while U.S. prosecutors work to decide whether they plan to pursue the death penalty, which is banned under state law but allowed in the federal system. A second suspect, 21-year-old Dylan Giron, pleaded guilty in July to gun and drug trafficking charges and admitted to helping Bland cover up the crime. He's due back in court for sentencing in October and is facing up to 23 years behind bars. Number 14. Serhat Gumrukcu. In January of 2018, 49-year-old father of 6 Gregory Davis was abducted from his home in Dansville, Vermont, and murdered by a man disguised as a U.S. Marshal. His body was found in a snowbank just miles from his residence, but was killed as part of what was later described as a coast-to-coast murder-for-hire plot. Federal authorities caught up with the accused culprits in 2022, starting with the arrest of the suspected triggerman, 34-year-old Jerry Banks of Fort Garland, Colorado. After killing Davis, Banks called a second suspect in Las Vegas, 41-year-old Aaron Lee Etheridge, and told him that the job was done. Banks was charged with kidnapping, while Etheridge was accused of participating in a conspiracy resulting in the kidnapping of Gregory Davis. Etheridge acted as an intermediary for a Las Vegas man named Burke Erate, who had sought out the hired assassin for his friend, a 39-year-old Los Angeles-based biomedical research doctor named Serhat Gumrukcu. Prosecutors accused Gumrukcu of having Davis killed to prevent him from going to the authorities about a fraudulent oil deal that the two men had been involved in. 3 of the suspects took plea deals and agreed to testify against Gumrukcu in exchange for lighter prison sentences. They're due to be sentenced later this year. Gumrukcu was found guilty after taking his case to trial and faces a mandatory life term, but his sentencing date has not been set. Number 13. Christopher Wayne Hicks Jr. Texas teenager Haley Nicole Blake and her father, 49-year-old Sean Glenn Blake, were shot to death on September 1st of 2025 while celebrating Labor Day at a park in Liberty City. Officers responded to the scene at Hugh Camp Memorial Park, where they found the victims, along with Haley's 18-year-old boyfriend, Christopher Wayne Hicks Jr., who was suffering from a gunshot wound but still alive. After spending 2 weeks in the hospital, Hicks was booked into the Gregg County Jail on 2 counts of murder and various other charges. Law enforcement officials have not publicly speculated about what led up to the shooting, but have clarified that they believe the attack was targeted. According to the most recent available updates, Hicks remains in custody with bonds set at $2 million as he awaits his next court hearing. Number 12. Kashonna Strong. An Alabama love triangle escalated into deadly violence in December of 2022 when Antonio Robinson was fatally shot during a child custody exchange in Huntsville. The accused killer, former Oakwood University basketball coach Kashonna Strong, was dating the mother of Robinson's child, Tiana Eldridge, at the time. Eldridge later testified that Strong and Robinson both reached for a gun at the same time during an argument before the weapon discharged. She also told the jury that Robinson had been violent toward her and Strong in the past, including one occasion where he followed the women and shot at their car. Some of the details Eldridge provided failed to align with the version of events Strong provided to police during an interview, including the defendant's admission that she had not seen Robinson pull a gun. Strong was nevertheless acquitted of murder following a jury trial in September of 2025, with an equal amount of relieved sighs and anguished cries being heard in the courtroom as the verdict was announced. Number 11. Aaron Walton and Joseph Poore. In what was later described as an extreme act of violence, 33-year-old Robert Marshall was murdered in Green Bay, Wisconsin, during a drug-related robbery in June of 2024. By the time officers found him beaten and bloody in the street, he was dead and his attackers had fled the scene. The suspects, 40-year-old Joseph Poore and 33-year-old Aaron Walton had lured Marshall to his demise under the guise of conducting a drug deal. Walton later admitted that he and Poore were planning to take money that Marshall owed to him, but he accused Poore of carrying out the stabbing. In June of 2025, Poore pleaded no contest to first-degree reckless homicide with a dangerous weapon. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison and will be 79 years old if he remains in prison until his maximum discharge date in May of 2064. In September, Walton pleaded no contest to felony murder in exchange for a maximum prison term of 12 years. He's due back in court on November 10th for sentencing. Number 10. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon. 31-year-old Romeca Meeks-Blackmon had just dropped her young son off at his school in Chicago on September 8th when she was fatally shot in the face during an altercation with another woman. According to reports, Meeks-Blackmon knew her attacker, who pulled a gun in the middle of the fight just after 9 in the morning. While the circumstances surrounding the deadly encounter are unclear, police have described the shooting as domestic in nature. A person of interest named Kashonna Johnson was taken into custody and questioned shortly after the incident, but has since been released without charges. Since then, rumors have swirled about the incident, while the authorities remain noticeably quiet regarding the events that led up to the shooting. In the meantime, Meeks-Blackmon's family is calling for the killer to be brought to justice. Number 9. Scotty Goble. In October of 2024, a petty fight between a restaurant patron in Tyler, Texas, and the business's owner ended with one of them shooting the other dead in the parking lot. According to police, 54-year-old Scotty Goble started the disagreement over a drink order while dining with his 2 sons and infant daughter. The dispute spilled over into the parking lot after one of Goble's sons slammed the restaurant's door, prompting owners Hiliberto, Eddie Ramirez Jr. and Edgar to follow the family outside. Goble set his daughter's baby carrier down and got into a fistfight with the men. He fatally shot Eddie Ramirez during the scuffle, with his son later testifying that Goble was on the ground and being punched when he fired the deadly bullet. The accused killer denied murdering Ramirez, arguing during his trial in September of 2025 that he had acted in self-defense. He was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison, with the jury ruling after 3 hours of deliberation that Goble had acted in sudden passion. Number 8. Kayla and Amber Spaur. A pee-wee football game in North Providence, Rhode Island, spiraled out of control in October of 2024 when 2 moms got into a fistfight in the stands. Identified by police as 33-year-old Kayla and 35-year-old Amber Spaur, the women were reportedly seen throwing punches and pulling each other's hair, leading to charges against both for disorderly conduct. Following her arrest, Card discussed the incident in a Facebook post, which stated that her child was one of several team members who were being aggressively hit from behind by a teammate who happened to be the coach's son. She accused the coach of failing to intervene until after the bully had broken her nephew's arm. During a phone interview with NBC 10, Card identified Spaur as the coach's wife, but police did not confirm these details when questioned by reporters. Both defendants pleaded not guilty and were released pending the outcome of the case. They were also banned from attending games and practices and ordered to have no contact with one another in the meantime. Number 7. Patrick Rosemond.
It is very humbling that you have sent your prayers, your blessings. It's definitely what's keeping me going.
In late July of 2025, footage of a street brawl in downtown Cincinnati went viral, sparking debates over safety in the city. In the video, a man could be seen attacking a group of people who kicked and punched him until he fell to the ground. Moments later, a woman named Holly was attacked by another man who punched her in the head as she checked on the fallen man. Her head hit the pavement, knocking her unconscious, while blood poured onto the ground beneath her head. Holly survived her injuries and has since gone public with her calls for improved safety measures throughout the city. In early August, the man accused of punching her, 38-year-old Patrick Rosemond, was arrested in Georgia. He was extradited to Ohio, where he pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of felonious assault, 3 counts of non-felonious assault, and 2 counts of aggravated riot. Records show that he's been held at the Hamilton County Jail, with bond set at $500,000. Number 6. Stacey Smith. Angry over recent shift changes at her job, 46-year-old ambulance worker Stacey Smith went to the Greater Manchester home of her boss, Michaela Morton, in October of 2024 and waited outside during the early morning hours in what police later described as an unprovoked and frenzied hammer attack which was filled with rage. She hit Morton over the head while yelling that she was going to kill the victim, leaving Morton with life-altering head injuries. After fleeing the scene and leaving the hammer behind, Smith text messaged a friend stating, "I've done it. I've smashed her head in. Oopsie. Kiss, kiss." She had originally planned to go on the run but turned herself into the police and was charged with attempted murder. Smith denied trying to kill Morton while admitting to causing grievous bodily harm with intent, but was found guilty of the attempted murder charge. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison followed by 5 years of supervision. Number 5. Charlotte Marsh-Jones. A night out drinking in Wiltshire, England, suddenly went awry for 21-year-old Charlotte Marsh-Jones in November of 2019 when she had too much to drink and got sick in the bathroom. Someone complained to a staff member that they had seen 2 women in a single stall, and when the employee confronted the pair and asked them to leave, Marsh-Jones lunged at her with a gin glass, causing a 4 to 5 inch wound along her cheek, ear and neck. The victim continued to fight back despite her injuries, and staff members eventually restrained Marsh-Jones until police arrived. Following her arrest, Marsh-Jones was convicted of grievous bodily harm, resulting in a prison sentence of 4 years and 3 months. Number 4. Dymond, Kartier, Canada and Donae, Ranecia, Douglas. In May of 2023, 2 young women were arrested at a Houston, Texas auto repair shop after one of them attacked an employee with her high heel during a disagreement over a Groupon discount. According to reports, the women tried using the discount for an oil change but became angry when they were told that they needed to make an appointment. Canada allegedly removed her heel and struck the employee with it 10 to 15 times before Douglas hit the worker with her car. Both suspects were charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, but the case was dropped after a grand jury determined that there wasn't enough evidence to move forward with an indictment. Canada shared her side of the story during an interview with ABC 13, claiming that she believes she and Douglas were discriminated against for their sexual orientation. She also shared her suspicion that police believed the employee over them because he was a manager, although these claims do not appear to be substantiated. Number 3. Chantelle and Valena McMillan. Jaime Skinner was celebrating his 40th birthday with his wife in Cornwall, England, in July of 2013 when they were gang assaulted in an unprovoked fashion after leaving a pub in Loo. The group threw Jaime into a shop window, then punched, kicked and stomped on him while also assaulting his wife. Police arrested sisters Valena and Chantelle McMillan along with Brett Lawrence and 23-year-old Jack Brooks. 30-year-old Valena McMillan was accused of grabbing Skinner by the t-shirt and punching her in the face, while 24-year-old Chantelle punched the victim repeatedly and attacked him with her high heel while moaning and roaring like an animal. The McMillan sisters and Lawrence were convicted of grievous bodily harm with intent and attempting to cause grievous bodily harm with intent. Valena and Lawrence were sentenced to 10 years in prison, while Chantelle received an 11-year term. Brooks was convicted of intending to do great bodily harm, resulting in an 8-year prison sentence. Number 2. Trio attacks Spirit Airlines workers. Upset that their flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Philadelphia had been delayed, 3 women were accused of attacking Spirit Airlines employees in mid-2020. According to the Broward County Sheriff's Office, 20-year-old Tamaya Wright, 22-year-old Donae Dixon and 21-year-old Kira Ferguson struck the workers with miscellaneous items such as phones, shoes, full water bottles, metal boarding signs and fast food, causing minor injuries. The incident was captured on video, which showed the women going behind the counter and physically assaulting at least one employee. Tamaya Wright was charged with petty theft for stealing a worker's cell phone, while Dixon and Ferguson were arrested on suspicion of battery. They were released on bond, and records show that all 3 defendants were sentenced to probation. Number 1. Nicholas Johnson. 32-year-old Nicholas Alexander Johnson was already serving prison time in Michigan for killing his parents when he was charged with the murder of a long-missing teenager in September of 2025. 17-year-old Bonifacio Pena was last seen walking into the woods with Johnson the day he vanished. A short while later, his roommates overheard multiple gunshots from their nearby residence. Johnson returned home alone later that night and burned some of his clothing while ordering his roommates to wash the rest. At the time, Johnson, Pena, and a woman named Rachel Diffenderfer were staying at the home of Sean and Erin Harvey, who took them in when they were homeless. Johnson reportedly had a romantic interest in Diffenderfer but walked in on her being intimate with Pena the night before Pena vanished, leading to speculation that he killed the missing man out of jealousy. In the days following Pena's disappearance, Johnson repeatedly returned to the forest for hours at a time and came back dirty each time, but he wouldn't tell anyone what he was doing or why, and he remained silent about the matter, even after being sentenced to hard time for killing his parents. Johnson is currently serving a 29 to 69-year prison sentence for murdering Gary and Laura Johnson, who were found dead several days after they went missing in 2021. He pleaded not guilty to open murder and 4 weapons charges following his recent arrest for Pena's death, and is currently awaiting a probable cause hearing. With what's known about the case, what do you think would be a fitting punishment for McLaughlin's manager when she is finally arrested? Let us know in the comments section below.